Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Transitioning to Me. Today I'm going to start with a whole bunch of thoughts and questions rather than a story about myself. This isn't natural. This isn't normal. Why would you do this? Are you sure this is what you're thinking? This is going to be life-changing. Are you really sure? How do you know that's how you feel? Are you really positive that you want to go through with all this? Are you thinking about taking hormones? How about top surgery? How about bottom surgery? This is a lot for me to take in. Let's just start by saying everybody's story is a little bit different, and these questions are all really normal for everyone. And, most importantly, it is natural. Not everything is black and white. Maybe it's easier for us to be blind to the fact that there's not just male and just female, but even in nature itself, it's not all that black and white. For example, there's animals that are able to change their gender, per se, like clownfish. They can change their gender when needed. There's also animals who are born hermaphrodites, like snails. They're all hermaphrodites. And there's even animals that are born with mixed up genders, like hyenas. All female hyenas have balls and a pseudo penis. So not everything is black and white. There's always gray area. Plants are that way. There's all kinds of other things in nature that aren't just black and white, aren't just male and female. So it's important to remember that while we may assume that everything's just one way or the other, it's not how it is. So maybe the next step is, okay, so it's natural, but how common is it for humans to be this mixed up? Well, to be born intersex or hermaphrodite, whichever is more comfortable for you, humans are born 1 in about 1,500 to 1 in 2,000 as an intersex human, which can mean that you're born with the outsides of one but the internal organs of another, or even born with mixed up parts of both. And while being trans is a lot less common, it's about 2 to 5% of the population of the world, which means not a lot of people are transgendered. It's still 2 to 5% of the world, which equals out to be a pretty big number, while not as much as normal male or normal female. While the odds are a little bit different between male to female trans and female to male trans, it's, for males, it's about 1 in 12,000 that will actually take steps to match their brain to their body, but for females, it's about 1 in 34,000 that are going to do the same thing. So, slightly staggering numbers, but it still exists. There's still statistics for it. You're not alone, and it's not something that's totally unheard of. I guess the next thing to address is when people go, I'm not sure, are you sure this is what it really is? I mean, maybe you just are a tomboy or a feminine guy or whatever. The way that it was explained to me, and the way that it makes the most sense to me, is if we were to take every human in the world and line them up from most feminine to most masculine, yeah, there'd probably be the stereotypical super muscly manly man on the end, and the super feminine, super pretty girly girl on the other end. But there'd be a lot of gray area in between. And when you look at a man and a woman, what are you really looking at? Do you go through the world and look at their face, their personality, the way they dress, or do you look at their genitalia? Let's be real, we look at who they present themselves as. So if we take away the lower half of the human existence, what you really see is masculinity and femininity based on how someone acts and presents themselves. So, with that in mind, if we were to, again, take every human and line them up, Sure, there'd be a big group at the masculine end that were all very cisgendered males. But probably somewhere in that, toward the more masculine line, there'd be a born female in that list. Same thing on the other end. While it's a little more of a challenge for a man to be mistaken for a female unless they're really trying, they might still be considered very feminine in society standards. So, it's important to remember that while this is a big thing for everyone and it's not the easiest thing to understand, there's resources out there. Actually, lots of resources, which I will be putting in the comments for everyone, for people going through this to be able to read and understand, for family members that just don't understand what transgender means or why it would be important to kind of go along with what your son, daughter, mother, father, aunt, uncle, whatever is asking you to go through with. Because let's just say you're a totally straight, manliest man ever, but somebody keeps wanting to call you she, her, stuff like that. You'd be pretty offended after a couple of times, right? Same thing for a trans man. If somebody comes up to you and you're visibly trying to be a man and they just continually call you she, her, or by your female name, it's equally as offensive to the trans man as it is to a regular man, because that's the way you see yourselves. So I guess it's really important to make yourself knowledgeable. Don't just be blind and allow yourself to not know what's really out there. Sure, by researching and becoming more knowledgeable, you'll have more questions, but it's not because you won't understand. It's because you'll understand there's so much more out there than what you might have originally thought. Even I, who have read so many things about gender identity and stuff like that, I'm still learning things and I'm still finding more questions, because the more you learn, the less you know, but the more you understand. And I think it's really important for people to realize that, sure, you might have to answer some questions that you really don't want to answer, but it's important to do that. It's important to answer those questions and come to an understanding, because not only will you be happier, but the person you're trying to support will be happier. And it's important to think before you speak, too, when you're trying to support someone going through these changes, because while you might not understand what they're going through, making it about you can be very painful. Sometimes the most hurtful statements come from people that aren't trying to be mean. If someone's just generally transphobic, it's easier to kind of just, whatever, that's just how you are. But when someone's trying to support you and say, oh, I totally support everything you're doing, but I think it's really weird, that actually hurts more than just saying, well, I don't really get it, and just leaving it at that. Or if you spill your feelings out for someone and really tell them everything you're going through and everything you're going to go through, and then they go, well, thanks for putting a whole big weight on my shoulders. That hurts, because it really wasn't meant to be about you. It was meant to let you know what I'm going through and to kind of prepare yourself for everything that I'm going to go through. So yeah, it's a lot for you to take in too. Trust me, I get that. But let's not forget that you're not the one going through this. You're not the one who's lived half their life trying to fit into the body that your brain doesn't match. But I guess my cat must really be wanting to show himself off today. I guess to really end everything is, there are resources literally for every type of person you can be trying to inform. There's children's books to help you explain to children what transgender means. So they really put it in the easiest terms ever. There's books for people going through this, for you to understand that you're not the only one there. There's support groups for people going through this, family going through this, friends, allies. You can go to these support groups. They're all throughout the U.S. I mean, I live in Michigan, so I know more about ones in Michigan than anywhere else. But they exist, and they're willing to accept you with open arms, and it's really great because you can go there and be yourself. Or if you're not transgender, you can go there and see what it's like for them, see and hear the struggles they have to go through to actually be the true selves they see. And there's tons of websites and books available for everyone trying to understand more about what transgender means. So I'm going to be putting those in the description of the video. Please check some of them out. There's forums for people, like Susan's Place. It's a transgender forum and information site, and it's not just for people who are transgendered. It's for their significant others, family, friends, anyone that's trying to understand what's going on and be supportive. And the people on that site are really good about, if you don't understand something, they're going to help you. Likewise, there's sites that document everything from the beginning of therapy to the beginning of hormones and everything that goes on during the actual transition from one gender to the other. Even from a doctor's point of view, there's a doctor that's gone through a female-to-male change and very accurately depicted everything that she went through to go from a her to a him, which can be very helpful for people who don't quite understand, or even for those that do and just kind of want to be able to prepare themselves for what they're going to be possibly going through. So, in closing, remember, sure, it's not easy. Sure, you feel like you're alone, but you're not. And people might tell you that it's unnatural. You should just be the way you are. I mean, you were born a girl, just be a girl. It's easier to fix a body than it is to fix a mind and soul. And while people might say it's unnatural, just remember that it is. Come back at them with facts about nature and prove to them that it is natural. And remember that knowledge is way more important than just pretending something doesn't exist. Understanding something can help you to cope with everything that you'll be going through, everything that your relative might be going through, your friend, whoever it is. Learn, because through learning you will find understanding. Thanks for watching. I will hopefully be posting again next week. Bye.